Welcome to the first and possibly last episode of Guns and Whiskey. I'm here in my office drinking whiskey, talking about guns because I jacked up my ankle pretty good about a month ago. So I don't know if you can see that on camera. It's pretty gross. Anyway, I broke my ankle about a month ago, and apparently I'm going to be off of it for at least another month. So I can't get out to the range. I can't really go shooting unless I want to stand in one place and dodge bullets at an indoor range with all the new shooters out there. New shooters, no problem. Love you. Glad you're part of the community. Just get some training because you kind of scare me, some of y'all, inside of those indoor ranges. So with that being said, I really can't go out and do much of anything. The weather's fantastic outside, so I'm super pissed off about that. So I'm spending my time working, obviously, and drinking whiskey and working in the gun industry. So I figured, you know what? Let's take these two things, put it on camera, see what happens. I don't even know if there's going to be an intro or music or overlays. I'm just going to, do short videos, drink some whiskey, talk about guns. And if you like it, like. If you don't, dislike. Comment, whatever. I love the comments. They're awesome. Sometimes you guys are super cool. Some of y'all aren't, and I love those even more. So subscribe, whatever. Like I normally say, I'm not your mom, but do what you want. So today we're going to sit here and talk about a gun. And if you've ever seen, I know I picked up the whiskey glass, but you've probably seen this gun before if you've watched any of my videos, well, specifically the Just As Good video. Just as good. This is my Rock Island HFSC. Oh God, the acronyms. People always get pissed off. It's the full size, so it's the FSHC for high capacity. I understand this now. Thank you, YouTube, for helping me. In 10 millimeters. So Rock Island, Rock FS full size HC high capacity, and this is in everybody's favorite bear hunting caliber 10 millimeters. So the Just As Good video that I did, it is the most hated video I've ever done, and I love it. So I took this gun and I compared it to a Triarca, an over $3,000 2011, because I hear a lot of people say Just As Good, and I did the comparison. Surprise, surprise, the $800 gun isn't just as good as the $3,000 gun, but I really didn't review the Rock Island by itself. So if you want to go see the Just As Good and get mad, all of you 10 millimeter, Rock Island Ultra fans, go for it. Go give me hate mail there. I'm just going to talk about this here. And I think when I just talk about the Rock Island by itself, you might be surprised about my opinion on it. So spoiler alert, there you go. And I'm drinking Maker's Mark Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, and whiskey spelled without an E. So the reason that I'm having Maker's Mark is I was thinking, if I could pair a whiskey with a gun, this kind of makes sense because Maker's Mark, even though they are brewing in Kentucky in their original facility, it is very inexpensive. So this bottle was $22, $23, I think. So it is a cheap whiskey. So I'm taking a cheap bourbon and pairing it to a cheap 2011, and we're going to talk about it. So it's funny though, because Maker's, I've actually never had Maker's Mark straight up, so like in a Glencairn glass. So normally it's mixed, into like an old fashioned or something like that. So it's a whiskey that people typically use for a mixer, but I've never actually had it by itself. So this is actually the second sip. I took one off camera just to check it out real quick, but it kind of has like a charcoal smell to it, like a little bit of a charcoal smell on the nose. Oh yeah, my buddy Tim, he taught me to sniff yourself to like reset your palate, and then you can smell stuff again. So maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Yeah, so I know it's pretty pedantic, but I get vanilla and burnt wood. So maybe it's burnt vanilla wood casks that they use. And I hate to say this, but it's it's whiskey. It's bourbon. It's funny because I've never actually had it straight. It's unremarkable. It's only 90 proof, so it's not. I like stuff barrel strength or was it barrel proof, not barrel strength, barrel proof. Shows you how much I know about whiskey. But I like stuff barrel proof, so like in that 110 to 120 range. So 90 proof is a little lighter. And then the aftertaste is really, the finish is really not great. It's just kind of basic. But is it something that I could sip on? Yeah, I bet if I put it over ice, it might open up a little bit. Might be something I'd sip on more. But yeah, I mean, it's a fine, basic bourbon. But the thing about it is it's inexpensive, and everybody knows this Red Wax label. They're more of a brand, I think, in a lot of ways than a whiskey, but obviously they make good whiskey. So yeah, Maker's Mark right there. So drinking Maker's Mark, it just kind of really paired well to me with talking about the Rock Island 10 millimeter full-size high-capacity gun. So this gun I bought myself. I actually bought two of them because a friend of mine wanted a 10 millimeter, and I just couldn't get him a Glock. I was like, you know what, you need to get some type of a high-capacity 2011, but his budget was sub $1,000. So the only place to go for that is Rock Island. This is a para-style gun, so a para-ordnance-style HiCap. So 2011s are a two-piece lower where the grip actually detaches from the frame, and the reason is you need that to be able to get the trigger in, inside of the actual grip itself. So this is a high-capacity gun. It has a 16-round magazine. It comes with one of them, and they retail for in the range of $800. So in the world of 1911s and 2011s, that is cheap. But I'm going to go ahead and say something that might shock some of you guys. You are actually getting a lot of gun for your money. Let me just, stop right there. $800 is definitely cheap in the 1911, 2011 world. If you're getting like an Atlas, if you're looking for a 10 millimeter 2011, you're going to be going to Atlas Gunworks. There's not a lot of people that I know of that are making 10 millimeter double stack 1911. So, the barrier to entry for this is going to be like $4,500 to $5,000 to have a apples to apples comparison. So to get something for $800 is great. It is a Parkerized finish, CNC milled upper and lower. And if you watch the video, that Just As Good video, you're going to hear me complain about the machining. I'm less complaining about the machining as I am just pointing out that it is unfinished. The machine marks are still there. But for $800, like, I'm not really too bummed about the finish and the fit overall. So starting from the front, you have a full 5-inch bull barrel. It is not a flush cut, and it has like a little baby crown, which is fine. Like I said, $800. This is going to be, fully acceptable for the price of admission here. So a bull barrel simply means that the barrel, to retain the barrel, you're not using a typical barrel bushing. 5-inch gun, which, I love 5-inch 1911s. In 10 millimeter, comes with a red fiber optic front sight. Adjustable rear for elevation. For windage, you just have to, drift the sight to get it to where you want it to be. But, overall, nice round top upper. I love round tops. And it has the cool 1911 A1 style. So this is what they call their 1911 A2, okay? It's got the vertical cocking serrations in the rear, which are very cool and kind of a cool throwback. Delta-style hammer, ambi thumb safety. The trigger comes in at 5 pounds. And then the cool thing is that this is a double stack. So most 1911s are going to be single stack. If you get a 10 millimeter, it's going to be carrying 9 to 10 rounds depending on the magazine. For the double stack, you get 15 or 16. I've actually only gotten 15 into this magazine, so I'm not sure where that 16th round is going to be, or if they're talking about it being +1. It is going to give you a little bit girthier of a grip to reach around the magazine itself, or to reach around the grip itself. And then the nice thing is they added a mag well on the bottom here to make mag changes easier. But it only came with one magazine, so mag changes are going to be dropping the magazine and then adding rounds back in and reloading extremely slowly. So I don't know how much mag changes you're going to be doing. So getting down to it overall, if you watch that, I know I keep referencing that Just As Good video, but that's going to have like all the shooting footage. I went through under 100 rounds on that range day, and I've got other days in on this gun. I thought I was going to sell it, but I ended up keeping it. So I'm at about 250 rounds, and overall reliability is so-so. You know, I had 2 or 3 malfunctions within the first 60 rounds. I have gotten to practice my malfunction clearing with this gun a few more times. So stovepipes seem to be the most common issues with, you know, either, you know, FMJ ammo or hollow points. Seems to be kind of the same deal either way. But from an overall perspective, I actually like this gun because you are getting a lot of gun for the money. So $800, high capacity, 10 millimeter in the 1911 profile, the 1911 design, is a good starting point. And the thing about it is you're going to spend a little bit of extra money. So kind of like the Maker's Mark here, on its own, you're not normally just going to get a bottle of Maker's Mark and, you know, start drinking it and have it on its own. You're going to add it to Manhattan or whatever drink you're going to be adding bourbon to, or, you know, putting it over ice, or, you know, adding it to Coke if you're one of those heathens. So it's not something you drink by itself. In the same way, the Rock Island isn't a gun that you're going to get and most likely just keep it as is. I mean, the first thing that I do is get a trigger job, because the trigger in it, while not horrible, is heavy at that 5 pounds. And it hasn't gotten any lighter over the 250 rounds or so that I've shot it. And then the reset is actually pretty nice. It's pretty tactile, but there is a lot of effort. There's a lot of push coming back from the spring in there. So it's not as crisp as I'd like it to be. So definitely get a trigger job. The other thing that you're going to want to do is probably get a new hammer and new internals. So a new sear, a new hammer strut, a new disconnector, because a lot of the parts in this gun are going to be either MIM or cast. They're either cast or MIM. And if you're not familiar with those are inexpensive ways of making complex parts. And it's not that they're inferior, it's just that they're not really, how do I say, they're not as reliable as like machined parts are going to be. So the internals I would definitely replace. The thumb safety, it's got kind of a funky pin the way the thumb safety goes in, so I don't know if you could replace this for like an Ed Brown or an EGW thumb safety. I haven't gotten that far into my my research on it to find out. But yeah, the thumb safety, if you can replace it, great. If not, no problem. It serves its purpose just fine. And I like it because it is a little bit thinner profile on the right side for us right-handed folks. You know, I might change the finish, the Parkerized finish. Parkerization is not my favorite. It's kind of like a starting point, so I'd probably get it Cerakoted. Beware, though, that it does have a pretty tight frame to slide fit, so if you do Cerakote your frame and slide, it is going to add tolerance. You probably will have some issues there. But yeah, I get this refinished, maybe mill it and put a dot on it. I think that might have to happen on this gun now that I'm looking at it. So get a red dot put on it, and then get the barrel flush cut and crowned. I think that would just be epic. So flush cut and crown barrel, and then you'd have a really cool gun. So $800, it's a great starting point. It's going to give you a place to move up from there, and then you're going to have a 10 millimeter. Like, I know I joke about bears, like people talk about hunting. I get it. I know that you can hunt with 10 millimeter. You can hunt with 45. In fact, I saw an article of a guy that shot a moose with a gun, and I could just see the 10 millimeter guy super excited. Oh, was it a 10 millimeter? Was it a 10 millimeter? You open up the article. It ended up being 45 ACP. I think it was a Glock that he used. So, 45 is going to kill a large animal. 9 millimeter can kill an animal. 10 millimeter, I don't know if it's like the most effective round for hunting, but I totally see the draw to that. Hunting with a handgun would be kind of cool. So, I don't know. Maybe that was useful. Maybe it wasn't. But the Rock Island 10 millimeter full size, that's the FS, and HC, the high capacity, is a very good gun for the money, and it's a good starting point, just like Maker's Mark.